My life isn't what I see on the news.
It's not a magazine ad
or a music video.
My life is unique. I am learning who I am,
where I stand,
how I fit in.
Real life is bigger than fantasy.
This is Real Life Teens.
So many drugs are available to us, more so than things that are legal, like alcohol. We can easily obtain them and use them. Things like whipped cream and cough syrup.
Yeah, I've come home like completely thrashed.
Several deaths from overdoses in the past that I know of.
Yeah, well, a lot of times people, they think that can't happen to me. It's rare that someone dies on it, and they just continue with it because they think it won't happen to me, and it does, and it affects people.
I'd have to say that after we hear about something tragic, like as far as like someone dying, we get taken aback for a few minutes, and then like the next weekend we're going out doing our thing again, and I think a lot of it's living in the moment and not really knowing like what the consequences are, and sometimes getting screwed up and taking the wrong path using cough syrup and all that.
Alcohol also, it tends to influence people to do other things like drugs when you're under the influence of alcohol, or to have sex. It just is a major influence to drive you to do other things that you normally wouldn't do.
Not every time you do it, it's gonna harm you. It's just there is that chance that there's gonna be that one time that something's gonna happen, and until you get that scare, until you know someone, and there's the addiction factor.
Like what it's gonna do to you if it's not yours. It can be prescribed for certain things, and you're taking it for others, and it could really mess you up.
This is Real Life Teens.
Some drugs severely impair a person's ability to make healthy choices and decisions.
I know a lot of people who use drugs, but not when you reference drugs, most of the time people think of intense drugs or extreme drugs like cocaine or heroin.
One night, it's I just did it one time, so it's not like I'm abusing at all. And then you just keep on doing it, it just stacks on each other.
Has an effect on you. I mean, I know, of someone who passed away from it. My family was friends with their family, and it's heavy. It's hard to deal with.
And I was with him the whole night, and it seemed fine, everything. We're all having a good time. And then next thing you know, we come inside, and he's on the floor not breathing. And it was a pretty tragic moment when you have a good friend of yours overdose in front of you. And not a lot of people really took from it, and it's just kind of scary when you know a lot of your friends that it could happen to them.
It's pretty likely that you're going to hear what drug they were using. You hear of a friend of yours using that same drug.
Drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco, taking illegal drugs, and sniffing glue can all cause serious damage to the human body. Teens who drink, for example, are more likely to get involved in dangerous situations, such as driving under the influence.
I know, because I've had 3 friends that have died from it, and it's not that they were the driver. It's not they won't die. It's the people that are sober, they're the ones that will most likely get killed. The driver will walk away unscathed or something, and it takes a big toll. I mean, it's huge in this valley.
Alcohol is a big problem, and a lot of movies portray it hard for high school students to get alcohol super bad. But in real life, any kid in this room can probably call an older brother, an older friend or anything. They can get alcohol whenever they want, whenever they need it.
It definitely causes you to be okay with doing something that's not.
I think alcohol is a major part of teens dying in car accidents and stuff. I've actually been in cars where the kids that are driving have been drunk.
Today's teens are more likely to abuse prescription and over-the-counter medications than many illegal drugs, and think abusing medicines to get high is safer than using illegal drugs.
I think it's really easy to kid yourself, to slip into this this abyss of thinking that what you're doing isn't a problem when you're really, really screwing yourself over.
Although substances can feel good at first, they can ultimately do a lot of harm to the body and brain.
Recently and lately, the only thing I really hear about are hallucinogenics or prescription pills. Prescription pills seem to be a really big deal.
According to the data, an alarming number of teens have a false sense of security about the safety of abusing prescription and over-the-counter medications. 2 in 5 teens agree that prescription medicines, even though they are not prescribed by a doctor, are much safer to use than illegal drugs. Nearly 1/3 of teens believe there's nothing wrong with using prescription medications without a prescription once in a while.
I personally think that drugs are a problem in this valley, especially like pills and other stuff.
But not only are there deaths, there's lives that are changing.
Because I've had a personal experience where I was actually with a friend that overdosed.
The intentional abuse of prescription and over-the-counter medications to get high is now an entrenched behavior among today's teen population, according to a national study. We have a situation where prescription and over-the-counter medication has become widespread and dangerous teen behavior has become normalized. Abuse of prescription and over-the-counter medications is on the same level as the abuse of illegal drugs, such as ecstasy, cocaine, crack, methamphetamine, and heroin.
Me personally, when it comes to like just everyday stuff like going to school and things like that, or just walking down the block, you see little kids and they'll be buying pills or asking for, you know, certain types of drugs that I know my mom, because my mom's sick with cancer, that she takes certain type of pills. And like my friends come up to me, well, they're not my friends, but they come up to me and they want me to sell them my mom's pills or steal them from my mom. And it's just really out of control how it goes.
Teens are facing a drug landscape that is affordable, easy to obtain, and legal.
And then the next morning you're just like, what did I do? It causes so much discomfort in yourself and like being embarrassed and like, I can't believe I did this.
Drugs simply hide feelings and problems. When a drug wears off, the feelings and problems remain or become worse.
Like, where am I going to get my next, like, you know, like drink, and like, how am I going to like have as much fun as I had last weekend? Like, it's just like builds up from there. Like, and it takes away from other like recreational things that you were doing, and it's just defines you kind of as a person that you definitely do not want to be. Like, you want to be unique.
There is a substantial difference between good medicine and bad behavior. When these medicines are abused, when they are used for anything other than their intended and approved purpose, they can be every bit as dangerous as illegal street drugs.
And not really knowing like what the consequences are, just living and sometimes getting screwed up and taking the wrong path using, you know, cough syrup and all that.
Cough medicine, a lot of kids will actually bring to school because they really can't get in trouble for it. So they'll bring the cough medicine in school, they'll bring it in their backpack and stuff like that. And then like when no one's looking or during recess or lunch, they'll just start drinking it, and they'll drink like 2 to 3 bottles. So for the next like couple of periods they have, they're just like relaxed and chilled in a daze. And I think that's just really like out of control how it's just getting more and more and more. And actually people are trying to sell cough syrup to you in school. It's really bad.
People take drugs just for the pleasure they believe they can bring. Effects can also vary depending on the differences in body size, shape, and chemistry.
And it's not really out of the ordinary for someone to be doing it because, like, everyone does it. I mean, it is probably a problem, but, I mean, most of the kids that I know that do it, they're not addicted to it or anything. But I think younger kids, they look up to the older kids, and those kids start getting into it, so it's just like everyone's doing it, so.
Often, it's because someone tried to convince them that drugs would make them feel good, or they'd have a better time if they took them. Some teens believe drugs will help them think better, be more popular, stay more active, or become better athletes. Many teens use drugs because they are depressed or think drugs will help them escape their problems. The truth is, drugs don't solve problems. Others are simply curious and figured one try won't hurt. Others want to fit in. A few use drugs to gain attention from their parents.
Okay, so drinking and drugs. Everybody ends up doing it sometime in high school, and a lot of parents try to prevent it. I understand that it's not a good thing, but if kids don't experiment with it and you taboo it all their lives and you tell them it's bad, they're going to end up doing it, and then they're going to become real addicts. And I think if parents just gave kids a little bit of space.
Well, I want to comment about the strictness of parents. I live with my dad, and he is not that strict, and I think it's good to not be too strict, because I have some friends that have really, really strict parents, and it's not good, because if you shelter your kids too much, then it's like kids learn through experience.
Maybe because my parents are very strict, and it's hard to say that it's like I want to do it because they tell me not to, but it's at the same time it's like I understand it's a bad thing. But you have to understand that when parents are way too strict, it makes you want to do it even more, and that could really lead to problems because that ends up making people want to lie about it and get around the real situation instead of just being able to experiment, and because they will eventually, and it makes it even worse. That's when the real problems will begin.
Teens' low perception of risk in abusing a drug can lead to abuse.
I had a friend that got into marijuana, and it really became the only reason he woke up in the morning.
Well, I've known like a lot of people that have done drugs, and sometimes people get caught up in it and they think that they're cool and they want to be cool, and so they do drugs.
It was what he did every day, all day. And it was really sad. I've known this guy almost literally my entire life. And just in the last 2 years, he has become a completely different person.
Then once they're caught up in it, then it's hard for them to get out. So they just end up doing it for a long time.
Really depressing. Because, I mean, we were friends, and now he's all into that, and I'm not. So we've lost everything that we can relate to with each other.
Inhalants are common household and commercial products that are deliberately inhaled, often by children or teens, to produce a high. Many inhalants are readily available and cheap. Many can be obtained legally, even by minors. The average age at which teens first try these drugs is 13.
The rush kids get from using there's nothing like it. I know of a couple of things that you can walk into a local grocery store and pick them up right off the shelf for under $10. I've seen kids do some pretty wild stuff.
I used to walk around, just go to the local coffee shop, and kids will be getting high off of Triple C, which is like a cough pill, I think. I'm really not sure, I've never even taken it, but when you steal it and pop a whole bunch of them, it's gone really out of control what kids would do out of rebellion. They just want to be rebellious and be cool and take these pills and do drugs, and it's not the way. It's definitely not the way.
Ketamine, like GHB and Rifonol, has a reputation as a date rape drug. These drugs are easily slipped into someone's drink, making the victim easily persuaded and physically weak, or entirely unconscious, leaving them vulnerable to rape, assault, or burglary.
First of all, it makes you look bad, it brings down your family, it brings down everything, and those ramifications are not worth that one night of sex.
People that put drugs in people's drinks and have sex with date rape, it's lame.
And also, if the girl didn't want it, what does that make you feel like?
Yeah, it makes you look like a jerk.
Things like date rape can damage a girl and make her feel like a piece of meat. She feels like inferior to everyone else because of one act. And that is not something that's acceptable at all.
It's cheap. And if anyone out there is doing that, what are you doing? It's dumb.
The girl is going to be, forever affected by this. She's going to be a different mom. She's going to be way more cautious of her kids, and she's not going to be able to trust, maybe for the rest of her life, another man, because we, at that time, whoever is doing this does not understand that they're actually damaging this girl, not just for that one night. They're psychologically harming them, regardless if they're drunk or not. They know what happened. Today's high school, guys especially, it's all about ego. Everyone wants to know who can bench the most, who has the bigger biceps, because they think that determines how many girls they get.
The use of steroids can increase muscle mass, strength and endurance, but can also cause water retention, acne, trembling, and high blood pressure.
You hear all about, in the locker rooms, they're all talking about, you got to check this out, try this out.
Some users experience feelings of invincibility, which may lead to poor judgment. Other users suffer from uncontrolled aggression or violent behavior, known as roid rage.
And you do really not know anything about it, what can affect your body, how it can alter yourself 20 years from now.
Severe mood swings, manic episodes, and depression.
There's other ways to get bigger nowadays, or to get muscle in a way. A lot of people are just saying, I want to get big, or I want to get stronger. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's just all about ego and to push it to the limit. You don't want to do that to your body.
Liver tumors or jaundice, kidney disease, stunted growth, and heart damage may occur.
Today's society, especially parents and coaches, they're always pushing their players. They're saying, you got to do this, you're going to sit on the bench. So, teens, they don't know the exact way how to work out. They're not personal trainers. They don't know what's the right diet. They just want to get big now, the fastest way possible.
Teens may experience stunted growth through premature skeletal maturity and accelerated puberty changes.
But I mean, what's the point of getting into a good school, getting a good degree, if in the end you screw up your body and it's not how you want it? By the time you're 30 years old, you look like you're 45.
This may happen if teens take anabolic steroids before their typical adolescent growth spurt.
We've heard about steroids, we've heard about growth hormone, testosterone, all these things out there that kids take and they don't know what it does to you.
A lot of kids take it and they have no idea what it does to their body, and I mean, a lot of times there's, different levels, like estrogen levels, testosterone levels, a lot of things that go up and down that you shouldn't be controlling like that. That's all natural stuff that you should either talk to a doctor about or ask questions.
You got to think about all those things. You can't just take something, you can't just take it and then all of a sudden you're 30 pounds bigger. There's something wrong with that, You're not at a level, you're not an athlete at that level who can handle these kind of medications, these drugs. Just hard work will do it. That's all you need.
Drugs can ruin every aspect of a person's life.